The Hog Creek Marsh, a part of the much larger Great Black Swamp, formed from the large glaciers that moved across this area 100,000 years ago. The receding glaciers left tracks in the land, and among these tracks was a scooped out expanse of 8,000 acres. At first, the Hog Creek Marsh started out as a lake filled with ice water from the retreating glacier. Then water plants ventured into the edges of the lake, and later silt from the surrounding hills washed into the basin and clogged it. This later made the lake a stinking black muck of decayed vegetable matter full of venomous reptiles, wild animals, and malaria. Then, in 1868, by ditching and deepening, widening and straightening the channel of the Hog Creek for a distance of 4 miles, the 6-year project allowed the marshland to be reclaimed. But later on, after years of poor drainage and poor crops, landowners levied money to clean out and improve the main stream of the Hog Creek, as well as 10 lateral tributaries that are highlighted in blue on this map. Local farmer VonStein elaborates on this construction project known as the Limestone Cut when it was completed in 1949.
Cut. I started out here on the west edge of the county and dug, I think, 4 miles of limestone out of the bottom of the ditch. And if I remember correctly, it's about a 3-foot cut that they took out of the bottom of the ditch. And by doing that, see the limestone, there was a kind of a rise in so with the limestone, the marsh laid lower than what the limestone was, so you really couldn't drain it. So once they made the limestone cut, then that allowed us to deepen the ditches in the marsh. And once we could deepen the ditches in the marsh, then you could start to tile, put in subsurface tile, which would drain the ground. And once we did that, the marsh really became very, very productive.
As you can see on the satellite map, the much darker soils of the Hog Creek Marsh stand out in the landscape. But in 1955, farmers watched as the ditches refilled with silt and debris and the marsh became less prosperous. Farmers realized that to keep the marsh at peak performance, constant maintenance and upkeep would have to be done. So they formed a ditch committee, and Wynn discusses what he does as a member of this group today.
We're also such a flat grade out there that you really have to maintain the ditches. The farmers went together back in the 50s after the limestone cut and formed a commission to maintain the ditches. And so we've got a 60-foot backhoe that we can go down and dip out any obstruction in the ditch. We maintain all the tile outlets. The ditches are sprayed every spring for noxious weeds or trees. If you go out there, you can see all the ditches are very, very well maintained. And they're diked so the ditches can come up, the water can come up from the high ground, will flow down into the marsh. Well, the ditches are all diked so that the water in the ditch can be higher than the ground itself. It's kind of like dikes, so we can get rid of the water without a lot of flooding.
The Hog Creek Marsh is an ever-changing landscape, and Wynn discusses how these soils have changed over his lifetime.
We've lost most of the muck, but that is anticipated, just for the simple reason muck subsides. Just for the simple matter, it's organic matter, and it will just very slowly oxidize away no matter what you do. And most of the ground out there now is a mineral soil. There are a few pockets of muck, not many, not enough to be economically viable for anything. But the mineral soil really is, for farming purposes, is much, much better than the muck that was on top of it.
So to reduce this oxidation of the soil, farmers have taken steps to preserve and slow down this process. Wynn talks about some of these techniques.
And then in the probably late 80s, we finally had some machinery developed that would allow us to no-till or to minimum till before we didn't have the machinery to do it well. And so your clean till would always outproduce anything no-till. They've devised the machines now that we can use, and the no-till is probably preferable as far as, putting the seed in the ground to what a clean till was. Once we got the machinery to plant through trash, then there was no need to plow. And by not plowing, we aren't disturbing the ground. Anytime you turn ground over, you will lose organic matter. Well, organic matter is what holds everything together. So if you start to build organic matter, then you get good tilth. If you don't plow, you don't get these hard pans that have to be ripped up. So it's a long, long process. From say the 80s until I die, I think you'll see the quality of the ground start to improve again. I think you'll see organic matter start to rise. It takes a lot of organic matter to rise to go from a 4.2 to 4.3% organic matter. It's a long process. But we went many years where we were slowly degrading that. So it's going to take a number of years to start going back up. But I think the practices we use today with no-till, minimum till, the site-specific programs that we're using, I think we're going to start to not only not only will we maintain, we'll start to improve this soil. And for my kids, and you guys, you'll see the benefits of that.
The land has come a long way from a glacier-formed lake to a swamp to some of the best soils in Hardin County. But constant maintenance and soil conservation will be necessary to keep these soils at peak performance. This Ohio historical marker has been placed along Ohio State Route 81 between Ada and Dola, right in the middle of the marsh. It serves as a reminder for what this area once was and what it can become in the future.